In this video, we'll explore the basic ideas behind oscillations. A familiar example is the motion of a swing. If you watch a swing in motion, you'll notice that it moves back and forth around a resting position. This resting position, also called the equilibrium point, is located at the lowest part of the swing's path. At that point, the chains hang straight down, and there is no net force acting on the swing. The pendulum of a clock also swings back and forth at regular time intervals. Here, the oscillation serves as a timekeeper. Its equilibrium position is again the lowest point of the path, where no net force acts on the pendulum bob. Another example of oscillations is a spring with a mass attached to its end. When the spring is stretched or compressed and then released, it oscillates continuously around its equilibrium position. This happens regardless of whether the spring is oriented vertically or horizontally. The equilibrium position of a vertically oriented spring is determined by the balance between the upward spring force and the downward gravitational force on the mass. A ball also shows oscillatory behavior when it rolls back and forth between two inclined planes. The equilibrium position lies at the lowest point between the planes, where no net force acts on the ball and it is no longer accelerated. Liquids can oscillate as well. A good example is a curved tube filled with liquid. If the liquid is set into motion by an initial imbalance, it swings around its equilibrium state. This equilibrium is reached when the liquid columns in both vertical sections of the tube have the same level. A particularly vivid example of oscillation is a vibrating guitar string. When plucked, the string oscillates. In an acoustic guitar, this motion is transmitted to the body of the instrument, which produces sound waves. These sound waves are in fact nothing more than oscillations of air molecules. The guitar string also has an equilibrium position, corresponding to its stretched, completely resting state. Alternating voltage, also known as AC voltage, is another example of an oscillation. In AC voltage, the polarity changes at regular intervals. The waveform can be sinusoidal, rectangular, triangular, or another repeating shape. The zero voltage level is the state in which no potential difference exists between the terminals of the voltage source. When AC voltage is used to operate, for example, an incandescent lamp, another type of oscillation appears. This is the oscillation of electromagnetic fields. These fields travel through space as light waves. In general, an oscillation can be defined as a time-dependent variation of a physical quantity around its mean value. This quantity may be a displacement, as in the case of a pendulum, or it may be the magnitude of an electromagnetic field, as in the case of light. All the examples mentioned share one thing. The oscillations repeat in the same way at regular time intervals. These are called periodic oscillations. There are also non-periodic oscillations. These occur irregularly. An example is the vibration of our vocal cords. They move at different time intervals depending on the words we speak. The oscillation of a shock absorber is usually irregular too. That makes it non-periodic. Thus, oscillations can be divided into two groups, periodic and non-periodic oscillations. Besides this classification, there are other ways to categorize oscillations. One important distinction is between mechanical and non-mechanical oscillations. Mechanical oscillations are movements of a body around a rest position. Examples include the periodic motion of a swing or the non-periodic oscillation of a shock absorber. Non-mechanical oscillations, on the other hand, include processes like voltage fluctuations in an AC source or the oscillation of electromagnetic fields, as seen in light. In reality, mechanical oscillations are always affected by friction. In swings or pendulum clocks, this friction is usually unwanted. In shock absorbers, however, damping caused by friction is intentional. It prevents the vehicle from oscillating. In fact, the damping is set so that under normal conditions, oscillations do not even begin. Only faulty shock absorbers would tend to oscillate. An oscillation that is affected by friction is called a damped oscillation. In a damped oscillation, the maximum displacement, called the amplitude, gradually decreases over time. For example, if we stop pushing a swing, it will eventually come to rest at its equilibrium position. The oscillation is damped. The pendulum of a pendulum clock is also damped. Without a regular supply of energy, it would eventually stop due to friction. If the amplitude of an oscillation remains constant over time, it is called an undamped oscillation. This is the case, for example, with alternating voltage, where the amplitude stays constant. The electromagnetic field strengths of emitted light also have a constant amplitude over time and can be considered undamped oscillations. If an oscillating system is left to itself, damped oscillations always occur in reality because of friction. To compensate for this damping and maintain the oscillation, energy must be supplied from outside. Such oscillations are called forced oscillations. For example, on a swing, the constant shifting of body weight forces the oscillation. In pendulum clocks, the oscillation is maintained by a weight that slowly descends. In an electric circuit with AC voltage, the voltage sources are ultimately responsible for the constant variation of voltage.
Even the production of sound with our vocal cords is a result of a forced oscillation. In this case, the oscillation of the vocal cords is forced by a stream of air that passes through them and sets them into motion. If an oscillating system receives energy only once and is then left to itself, it is called a free oscillation. A single push of a swing without further energy input is an example of a free oscillation. Since free oscillations are always damped in reality, they eventually come to rest. In the following, we will look more closely at mechanical oscillations using some examples. First, we ask under what conditions a mechanical oscillation occurs. All examples share one thing. They have an equilibrium position and are initially at rest. For a body to start oscillating, it must be displaced from its rest position. This creates a force that pushes it back toward equilibrium. This force is called the restoring force. It accelerates the body toward the equilibrium position. When the body reaches this position, it continues to move past it due to its inertia and the speed gained from the restoring force. The body is now displaced in the opposite direction. Again, a restoring force acts on it, slowing it down and pushing it back toward equilibrium. This process repeats continuously, creating a permanent motion around the equilibrium position, a mechanical oscillation. From an energy perspective, the examples show a continuous conversion between potential energy and kinetic energy. The energy is initially supplied by displacing the body from its rest position at the start. If the oscillating systems are left to themselves, they perform free oscillations. However, frictional forces cause a loss of energy over time, resulting in damping. The amplitudes gradually decrease until the bodies eventually come to rest at the equilibrium position. So note, a mechanical oscillation is caused by a restoring force that acts opposite to the displacement from equilibrium. The exact relationship between displacement and restoring force ultimately determines the type of motion. For the ball on an inclined plane, the magnitude of the restoring force is independent of the displacement. In this case, the restoring force comes from the constant component of gravity along the plane. Except at the exact equilibrium point, the force along the plane is the same at all positions. This constant restoring force leads, according to the basic laws of mechanics, to a constant acceleration. The displacement over time in this case is described by a quadratic function of time. In the other examples, such as the spring pendulum or the liquid in a U-tube, the restoring force is no longer constant. It is directly proportional to the displacement. For the spring pendulum, this is described by Hooke's law, which states that the restoring force is proportional to the displacement from equilibrium. The negative sign in the equation simply indicates that the force acts opposite to the displacement. The same principle applies to the U-tube. When the liquid is displaced from its rest position, a column of liquid forms whose weight pushes the displaced liquid back toward equilibrium. If the displacement is doubled, the column's weight and thus the restoring force also double. In this case, displacement and restoring force are proportional. In fact, this proportional relationship is a very good approximation for a swing as long as only small displacements are considered. A displacement twice as large from equilibrium then results in a restoring force twice as large. We will look at these cases and derive the corresponding equations in detail in separate videos. We will see that whenever the restoring force is proportional to the displacement, the oscillation can be described using a sine or cosine function. Such oscillations are called harmonic oscillations. This applies to the examples of the simple pendulum, the spring pendulum, and the liquid pendulum. The motion of the ball on the inclined plane, however, is a non-harmonic oscillation because the restoring force is not proportional to the displacement. Therefore, it cannot be described with a sine function. In general, this also applies to the simple pendulum unless only small displacement angles are considered. So note, if the restoring force is proportional to the displacement, the oscillation can be described using a sine or cosine function. Such oscillations are harmonic. Finally, let's look at the characteristic quantities of periodic oscillations, which are oscillations that show a repeating motion pattern. It does not matter whether the oscillation is harmonic or non-harmonic. As an example, we consider the periodic fluctuation of voltage recorded during an electrocardiogram, or ECG, of the heart. First, we notice that within the observed time span of 2 seconds, the process repeats itself in the same way. The time it takes for the process to repeat is a characteristic quantity of the oscillation and is called the period, denoted by the capital letter T. On a graph, the period is seen as the distance between two successive distinctive points as the process begins to repeat after this time. For the voltage fluctuation considered here, the period is 0.5 seconds. Instead of the period, oscillations are often described by their frequency, denoted by the small letter f. The frequency indicates how many times the periodic oscillation repeats within a given time. In this case, the heartbeat repeats twice per second, or 120 times per minute. The heart rate is therefore 2 beats per second, or 120 beats per minute. Period and frequency are inversely related. While the period gives the duration of one cycle, the frequency tells us how many cycles occur per unit of time. Frequency is usually measured in hertz.